Daniel Jones gets demoted to QB3 on the depth chart. The Jets' disaster season continues. The Chiefs finally lost to the Bills. Joe Burrow plays great, but it doesn't matter because the team keeps losing. Lions steamroll the Jaguars, and rookie QB Bo Nix looked great against the Broncos in their win against the Falcons. And the Dallas Cowboys get smoked at home in the Battle of Texas. Now, before we get into the topics today, don't forget to like and subscribe. It helps me out a lot in these YouTube streets. We're on the road to 1,000 subscribers, and I really appreciate you all for rocking with me. Anyways, let's get back to business today. Danny Dimes' time in New York seems to be coming to an end. The head coach Brian Daboll had a press conference recently, and he confirmed that Daniel Jones, aka Danny Dimes, has been demoted to quarterback number 3 on the depth chart.
I spoke with all the quarterbacks this morning before our morning meeting. Let them know with the direction that we're going. Those are never easy conversations. Got a lot of respect for all 3 of those guys. After evaluating a bunch of things and looking at a lot of tape. And being around Tommy last year where he created a little bit of a spark for us, that's the reason why we're going with Tommy. Drew will be the backup. Continue to work with him.
Now, Daniel Jones' time in New York can be summed up by saying it's been largely underwhelming. Daniel Jones has a career starting record of 24, 44, and 1. There's one tie in there. There's been some games where he's shown a flash of brilliance, but overall it's been a mixed bag. I mean, he's never really had a consistent O-line, and generally their offense went through Saquon Barkley before they let him go. But overall, if you were to review Daniel Jones' time in New York, you would say he is definitely an average to below average quarterback overall, which was surprising when the New York Giants gave him a 4-year, $160 million contract. It had a lot of people scratching their heads. You're playing this guy $160 million over 4 years? It made no sense. And up to this point, Daniel Jones has had a career earning of $108 million. In that time, the New York Giants have been to 2 playoff games and have had 1 playoff win. So at this point, you can pretty much say that they're averaging $100 million per playoff win throughout his career at this point. Now, to be fair, Daniel Jones has been sacked about 208 times in 70 games, which is crazy. The O-lines have been inconsistent, and he's been through 3 different head coaches since he became the starter. But for the life of me, I still do not understand the decision to pay this guy $160 million over 4 years. There was nothing prior to this contract that Daniel Jones showed other than potential that would warrant this type of pay from him. It just made no sense to me. And I understand this new NFL, it's all about the market rate. There's plenty of quarterbacks who are getting paid a lot of money who don't necessarily deserve that, but you could have franchise tagged him. And then now when you look at the Saquon Barkley situation where they paid Daniel Jones all this money and then ended up letting go of Saquon Barkley, and then him going to the Eagles and having the type of year that he's having, even though the majority of the New York Giants offense went through Saquon, all the GM and the New York Giants have to blame is themselves for the situation. And it sucks too because the Giants do have a lot of talent on that team. Most notably, they have wide receiver Malik Nabers, they have safety Tyler Nubin, and they have their cornerback Andrew Phillips, who right now is rated as the highest grade cornerback in the NFL, and he's only a rookie. So even though New York Giants fans haven't really had a lot to look forward to, there are a couple bright spots on the team that make you think, oh, if we get an actual quarterback in, if we can get an actual O-line in here, maybe we can turn this thing around and do better. But I still go back to that video of John Mara talking about the Saquon Barkley situation, and this has got to drive every New York Giants fan crazy.
It happened, but
I'm gonna have a tough time sleeping if Saquon goes to Philadelphia, I'll tell you that. As I've told you, just being honest.
And to be fair, even though I do feel a little bit sorry for Daniel Jones in the situation, he could have obviously played better. I mean, you can't go 672 days without throwing a touchdown pass in your home stadium while you're getting paid $40 million per year. It just can't happen, especially when they got rid of the number 1 workhorse in their offense. It just can't happen at all. Now, I will say with the benching of Danny Dimes, Tommy DeVito getting another shot to showcase his talent is a pretty cool thing. He is homegrown talent. He is from New Jersey. Obviously, MetLife Stadium is in New Jersey. So for him becoming the first undrafted rookie free agent quarterback to start in a Giants uniform since 1967, he went 3-3 as a starter. He had 8 touchdowns and 3 interceptions, and he was second among rookie quarterbacks with at least 100 pass attempts in 2023. And quite frankly, maybe Tommy DeVito becoming the starting quarterback moving forward for the New York Giants may be the best thing for them. Tommy DeVito was only on a 3-year, $2.7 million contract, so he's extremely cheap for the New York Giants. And if they don't really believe in him as a starter moving forward, at the very least, they aren't paying him a $40 million per-year salary just to play subpar. You might as well pay the guy $2.7 million who's going to play subpar versus a guy getting $40 million and continue to build your team piece by piece around that guy who's extremely cheap so you can draft your quarterback for the future in the 2025 or 2026 draft. But I want to know what you guys think. How do you think Tommy DeVito is going to fare as a starting quarterback for the New York Giants moving forward? And do you think that Daniel Jones' time in New York is officially over now that he's been benched, and not just benched, but demoted to quarterback number 3 on the depth chart behind even Drew Lock? Right now he's behind Drew Lock, and he's getting paid $40 million per year. That is crazy. The Giants ownership and general manager really fucked up on this contract, and they're going to have to look themselves in the mirror real long and real hard before drafting the next quarterback. Anyways, for next on the docket, we don't have to go too far away. Now we're going to the New York Jets, and honestly, the New York Jets are finished. Now, just today, it was announced that the New York Jets had fired their general manager, Joe Douglas, who still had 1 year remaining on his 3-year contract. And Joe Douglas is getting fired just 6 weeks after the head coach, Robert Saleh, was fired after a 2-3 start. I'm going to do something special this time. I'm going to look into my magic crystal ball. Hold on. Let me look into it right now. Oh, it says that the general manager and the head coach are not the problem, and this is not going to fix any of the Jets' issues. Oh, what a surprise. What a surprise. You know, the main issue, and I'm starting to think it'd be great if owners could be fired, because the Jets owner, Woody Johnson, has not done them any good. Let's just name some of the players that Joe Douglas drafted in his tenure as general manager. He drafted Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Breece Hall, Will McDonald, Braylon Allen, Jermaine Johnson, Michael Carter II. Like, he's drafted some pretty high impact players with Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner specifically. And for him to get axed like this, especially after Robert Saleh was axed as well too, like, it just speaks to there being larger issues going on in that building. The owner, Woody Johnson, just being on a complete opposite wrong page. And when you look at certain teams and certain owners and you see a team like this where they haven't made the playoffs in 13 years, and you see owners making moves like this, it tells you exactly what you need to know about the team. The Jets have constantly been a laughingstock, a dumpster fire, an afterthought, and the owner, Woody Johnson, is a large part of that. I understand that this season has not gone the way you wanted it to go, but you have to look at your quarterback too. Like, Aaron Rodgers is a large issue for why things have gone the way they've gone this season. Even though Aaron Rodgers is a future Hall of Famer, pretty clear that he's past his prime, and no one person in this game can change the entire fortunes of a football team. You need to build a team around defense, offense, special teams. It's a team game. No one quarterback in their 40s damn near is going to turn around your entire franchise. It's just not going to happen. Now, since head coach Saleh has been fired, the team has gone 1-6 since that time, and it seems like everyone around the team is kind of losing hope.
I mean, it's all of you guys, obviously, but as the guy who's kind of the leader here, how much do you think guys look to him to see, where you can take this and get out of this?
He's a quarterback, man. That's the what's the word I'm looking for? The catalyst, the man. That's the man. Thank you, Otis. So you're always looking at your quarterback to see, what the plan is, how we're going to attack these dudes. And with that said, I don't think he's ever been in this position before, 3-7 either. So we're all trying to figure this thing out together. Is the truth of it. And at the end of the day, we all got to look in the mirror. We can't be looking at someone else for how we're going to go about this, because that's not reality. We all got here for a reason. We're all in this position because we can play ball, right? And you trust in yourself. You have that confidence in yourself to get yourself out of this hole we put ourselves in.
So I think Garrett Wilson embodies a lot of the sentiment on that team, and this team is not going to the playoffs. I think Aaron Rodgers will be back next year just because he does have a couple more years left on his contract. He's probably going to get cut in the last year if they continue to play with this, because they probably don't want to be paying him a crazy amount of money in his last year. And you know, it's interesting seeing the media say that it's going to be a complete overhaul. The GM's gone, the head coach is gone. What overhaul? You still have Aaron Rodgers there. You still have the same shitty owner. It's going to continue to be garbage in, garbage out. And I think the Jets are going to have a little 14 to 17 year streak of not making it to the playoffs at this rate. It's ridiculous, man. Aaron Rodgers eventually leaves or gets cut. They're going to be back at square one all over again, and they're going to have to start this rebuild process once again. That's going to be the real rebuilding for the New York Jets. But anyways, I want to know what you guys think. What do you think about the New York Jets season so far? And do you think that Aaron Rodgers is going to be back next year? Sound off in the comments. I want to hear what you guys think below. And next, the Kansas City Chiefs black magic spell sacrificing all those Swifties has finally ran out. Now, the Chiefs played the Bills last Sunday, and all jokes aside, this was a pretty close game that realistically could have went either way. By halftime, it was 16-14 for the Bills, but in the fourth quarter, Josh Allen called his own number, and he pretty much brought this game to a close, running for a huge touchdown and putting the Bills up 9 with a little over a minute left in the game. Now, we've all seen this dog and pony dance before, where the Chiefs are down by whatever amount and they miraculously come back and win. So even though the Bills were up 9, there was still a possibility that Mahomes may march down the field, score a touchdown, they might kick an onside field goal, get the ball back, and somehow win this game. But this time, the black magic ran out. The Chiefs had the opportunity to go down the field with the minute left over, and on 4th and 13th, Mahomes underthrows a ball trying to force it into Kelsey over the middle, and he gets picked off. So now the NFL can rest easy that the Chiefs aren't going to go undefeated this season and have some sort of Cinderella miraculous season where they go to the Super Bowl undefeated and go ahead to three-peat. And I know that might sound like hate, but hey, it is what it is. Overall, this has been one of Patrick Mahomes' worst seasons statistically. I mean, he has 2,400 yards pretty much, 15 touchdowns, and 11 interceptions, so he's been turning over the ball quite a bit in this season. And it's also pretty interesting with Josh Allen. I mean, after winning this game, he's now the Vegas favorite to become MVP for this season. It put him up over Lamar, which I don't really agree with. I think Lamar is balling on a different level. But it's interesting that Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills have beat the Kansas City Chiefs in the season pretty much the last couple of seasons. They're 4-1 against the Kansas City Chiefs in the regular season, but in the playoffs against Kansas City Chiefs, when it matters the most, they're 0-3. So even though this is a big win and it's funny and happy to see that the Chiefs don't get to go perfect for the season, it's going to be interesting to see if the Bills have to face the Chiefs again in the playoffs, or are they going to have the same result? Because it seems like so far they haven't been able to replicate that same regular season success against the Chiefs in the playoffs. Now into the next topic. You gotta feel sorry for Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow has been playing lights out and out of his mind, but it doesn't matter because the Bengals keep finding a way to lose over and over again. Now let me read off some stats for you. 3,028 yards, 27 touchdowns to only 4 interceptions. Those are Joe Burrow's numbers for the year so far. And with numbers like that, you would expect a team to at least be above 500, right? Maybe even 7-4, 6-5, something like that. The Bengals are 4-7. They aren't even 500. And a large part of that is because the Bengals defense is god awful, even though Joe Burrow has been putting up monster numbers this year along with Jamar Chase. In the most recent game against the Chargers, Joe Burrow literally had 356 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 0 interceptions. Of course, this was on the 56% completion rate, and his passer rating was 98.4. And if you look at Daniel Jones as he's leaving this game after it was done, he looks absolutely defeated, man. I mean, I know we talked about Daniel Jones making 40 M's per year. I know Joe Burrow's making $55 million per year, but he's doing everything, man. He's laying it out on that field, and the team around him just cannot get the win. This is one of those few cases where you have one guy putting up monster numbers, and the team just cannot rally around him. And of course, team members are frustrated because of this. You look at Jamar Chase recently being asked questions by the media about the frustrations for the season, and he does not seem happy at all. Listen to it here.
I play football on the field. I don't call plays for us, so I can't really do nothing.
Do you think that's part of the finishing factor is plays stuff?
I don't know.
Joe Burrow himself seems like he's over it as well too. I mean, he looks like a guy who's been just putting everything on his back, doing as much as he can, and he just seems like he's just done. And I think the thing that's the most frustrating about all these games is that pretty much outside of the game against the Philadelphia Eagles, all of these games that they've lost are 1-score games. And it's crazy to see that if they had a winning record right now, Joe Burrow would be up there for potentially winning MVP this season with these type of numbers. Now, the Cincinnati Bengals do have a bye week next week. Then they go against the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Dallas Cowboys, the Tennessee Titans, the Cleveland Browns, and the Denver Broncos to close out their seasons. So realistically, if they can pull through and get a win against the Steelers and clean out the rest of their slate, they might have a chance at making it to the playoffs, just creeping in there a little bit. But it might be game over for the Cincinnati Bengals. And quite honestly, their head coach, Zach Taylor, and their defensive coordinator are pretty much on the hot seat, and they may be fired if they don't make the playoffs this season. But anyways, I want to know what you guys think. Sound off in the comments below. Do you think the Bengals can find a way to sneak into the playoffs, or do you think it's a wrap? Next up, we talk about the Lions steamrolling the Jaguars 52-6. And this Detroit Lions team looks like the real deal. I mean, I know last year they went very far. They made it all the way to the NFC Championship game, but just fell short. But this year, it looks like they're back and they're badder than ever. And you can tell this entire team is rallying under their head coach, Dan Campbell. This guy used to play the game, and you can tell that he is an absolute player's coach. His players love him. They want to go to war for him. He pretty much brought Jared Goff out of that depression and has him pretty much putting up MVP numbers. Amon-Ra St. Brown is going crazy. This team is dangerous, and it would be crazy to see the Detroit Lions if they can make it all the way to a Super Bowl. Never in my lifetime would I had those two words in the same sentence, Detroit Lions, Super Bowl, but it might actually happen. And I must say, I think the part that's even scary about the Detroit Lions is that after they lost Aiden Hutchinson, I thought that their defense would take a step back dramatically, but they're still going crazy. They're first in passer ratings allowed, they're first in TD to interception ratios, they're first in passing touchdown percentages allowed, and they're first in touchdowns allowed with only 7. So this defense is still stellar. They're still doing their thing, and they're doing this all without Aiden Hutchinson, who is an absolute stud. So when he does come back next year, or if he comes back come playoff time for his injury, because it was a pretty bad injury, you already know Detroit Lions are going to be absolute monsters. And next, we got to talk about the Denver Broncos and rookie quarterback Bo Nix. He absolutely balled against the Atlanta Falcons. They won 38-6 on Sunday, and he went crazy. He went 28 for 33. He had 307 yards passing, and he had 4 touchdowns. Now, the Denver Broncos are a franchise that have legitimately been in quarterback hell since Peyton Manning left after their Super Bowl win in 2015. They have been through a myriad of quarterbacks looking for their starter, and they haven't seemed to found one. They had the stint with Russell Wilson that didn't work out, but it seems like the Bo Nix experiment has gone off to a great start. And Bo Nix right now, he's second in Offensive Rookie of the Year voting. Denver Broncos are 6-5, so they still have an opportunity to be able to sneak into the playoffs. And overall, you can't be mad at what Bo Nix has done so far. If he continues growing and progressing over the year, the Denver Broncos might have finally found their quarterback for the future. And last but not least on the docket, we talk about the Dallas Cowboys. Now, former Cowboys wide receiver Dez Bryant put out this tweet here after the Cowboys got embarrassed by the Texans in the Battle of Texas yesterday night. And he said this: "I'm the Dallas Cowboys to the heart. If I'm the Cowboys, I'd fire everyone after this season. There's young, hungry talent in the upcoming draft. Also, I'd reconsider Deion Sanders as the next head coach." Now, Dez Bryant is talking about them wiping a clean slate, having a new head coach. But my question, I think the better question is, will the owner/GM Jerry Jones fire himself? The Dallas Cowboys are going out absolutely sad. And even before the game started against the Houston Texans, you had a huge piece of debris falling from the roof of the stadium. The Cowboys got blown out 34-10 at their home stadium. They have not won a home game the entire year. Matter of fact, the Cowboys are the only team in a major US sport to not have a single home win in the entirety of 2024. So it's been just all around bad for the Dallas Cowboys this year. You have Dak, who got injured, and then you have Mike McCarthy saying that he's not taking out any of the starters and that they're going to continue to fight for the rest of the season. But I don't even understand why you would do this, why you would risk the injury of extra players. The season's pretty much already done. The Dallas Cowboys are 3-7. They're sitting at 3rd in the NFC East. just one game above the New York Giants, who are also terrible. And honestly, now with the New York Giants switching quarterbacks, they might actually win a couple games the rest of the season, and the Dallas Cowboys might finish at the bottom of the NFC East. The Dallas Cowboys defense is ranked 27th in the NFL for total defense. You see CeeDee Lamb on the sideline looking like he absolutely just hates his life, and the Cowboys players have pretty much written the season off. You even have Trevon Diggs and CeeDee Lamb just saying, F it, man, we're gonna go party it up anyways. After a 32-10 loss, what else can you do? And then you have Micah Parsons on his podcast, Copying Please. Listen here.
I'm gonna put this out there. We're a damn good football team. I know the scores ain't showing it, and I know obviously people feel like we got so many missing pieces, but I just truly believe like you almost gotta go to things like things that we messing up on. Like I think our defense is really turning things around. Like up until that last quarter when they got that touchdown defense, we only really gave up those 2 touchdowns in that first quarter. But other than that, we gave up 6 points in the other 2 quarters.
Now, I will say what Des Bryant said was interesting, and knowing Jerry Jones, knowing the publicity and the splash it would make, I can definitely see him picking Shedeur Sanders #1 overall in the 2025 quarterback draft, just to make the Dallas Cowboys go through an absolute media frenzy. And because let's face it, if Jerry Jones isn't going to win games, he's at the very least going to win the media attention. And honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if he just straight up hires Deion Sanders as a new head coach moving forward. But anyways, that's everything we have on the docket for today. Again, this is Keep It Football. And if you guys listen to the entire podcast, I really appreciate you guys for rocking with me. Don't forget to like and subscribe and share the video if you really liked it. Follow me on all the socials listed below. We have the Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, everything down below. And we'll be back next week. Anyways, I'm out.